with a PhD in child psychology. I've been asked by CBS News to do a TV interview to explain some impacts that living below the poverty line have on children. In this interview, I'll be asking a group of 4 moms living below the poverty line some personal experiences they've had with their children socially and emotionally and in school, all due to their social status. These women have come to me worried because they think that their children are going to struggle in the next few years, especially in school. Let's get started.
Hello, my name is Taylor and I'm happily married with 2 kids, a boy named John and a girl named Lila. My husband used to work for a corporate sports authority and recently got laid off when Dick's Sporting Goods became more popular. I used to work in a school and due to not having a tenure was also laid off when pay cuts were too much. Now my husband and I are struggling to raise our kids and have a few questions about the effects poverty will have on them emotionally, socially, and throughout school itself. Please help, Dr. Maier.
Hi everyone, my name is Samantha and I have 2 sons, Trey Jr. and Chris. We moved back into a rural part of the state because I could no longer afford the city life and left my husband because his fame became too much for my kids and I. However, going beyond just affording my own house, I have also come to notice that it's beginning to become a struggle affording the necessities such as food, clothing for my boys. My husband is constantly on the road with tour after tour and it seems to not have time for us. Since I'm having trouble getting help from the government, I'm looking to get help from a more psychological standpoint, and hopefully you can answer some of my questions and concerns.
Hi, my name is Sabrina, and I have 1 kid named Nick. I just got divorced from my husband a year ago, and ever since the divorce, I've been having trouble paying for things such as clothes and food for Nick. Nick's father has been having issues paying child support since he's an electrician and recently got laid off. I'm currently living in a rural community and work on a small farm where I help harvest potato crops. I feel like Nick has been having some issues in school recently and was wondering if it could have anything to do with my low income.
Hi, my name is Vicky and I am currently pregnant going on 4 months. I am having a baby girl. I am 16 years old and the boy that got me pregnant doesn't know he's a father-to-be. I dropped out of my 3rd year in high school due to my pregnancy. I don't have a job because many places don't hire at 16, and living with a single parent, my mother doesn't have enough money to support going to doctor appointments. I live in an urban community where everyone struggles to make a living. Being a soon-to-be mom makes me nervous to raise a child in this community due to violence, lack of education, and I have no idea how to raise a child. Growing up in an urban community, I was exposed to little education because the school systems don't have enough funding. I am afraid my child will grow up with bad influences and make bad decisions because of my lack of income. What can I do?
As a group, we decided on a few questions to ask you as to not take up a ton of your time. Are we in the minority with raising our kids below the poverty line? What is the actual poverty line? How will our kids be affected if we do not leave poverty? And lastly, is there a difference in raising our children in rural communities as opposed to urban communities?
First off, I'd like to applaud all of you for raising children in a difficult situation and remind you that you're not alone. It is said that 20% of children under 18 are considered poor or living under the poverty line. The definition of the poverty line is a lack of means of providing material needs and comforts. The poverty line in 2015 was said to be $24,250 for a family of 4. A quarter of all children in the U.S. that live in inner cities are considered poor. In a national survey, 59% of American parents that were above the poverty line were involved in 3 or more school activities on a regular basis, in comparison with only 30% of parents below the poverty line. Parents in low-income areas attend fewer school functions and volunteer less and were less attentive to homework and other assignments compared to parents in higher-class communities. Parents living in poverty are also more likely to use assertive commands when it comes to parenting and using physical punishment. Some things that you will find in an urban area that leads to poverty are crime, poor housing, gangs, drugs, and alcohol, lack of financial or emotional resources, schools that are underfunded, and teacher burnouts. On the flip side, some things that you will find in a rural area that leads to poverty are limited options and resources, more daily hassles, negative life events, and high-level stress. But from what I hear, most of you aren't working full-time. That way you're spending time with your kids, which is good. But on the flip side, 9% of poor families have 2 or more full-time workers, which is good for the money aspect, but means you will be spending less time with your children. So my advice is to figure out a set plan to balance both of these difficult aspects. Maybe work during the week while your kids are at school, which then frees up your weekend to spend time with your kids. There are always options when it comes to saving money. Set a budget, utilize your local food bank, potentially move in with a family member to cut back on expenses. Only spend money on necessities. When you're at your lowest low or feel like you just want to give up, stay hopeful and remember that you're not alone. There are people out there going through the same types of things, and you will get through it.